Hey, welcome to Tina's Truth with, hey, y'all know we're going to keep it real here. You know where I'm going to keep it 100 at all time. I'm so excited about my guests. Not saying that I'm not excited about my other guests, but this is family right here. This is my beautiful cousin, Robin Sane.
Yes, Robin Sane.
You know she is so professional, honey. So listen, you know her platform, and some of y'all follow her. Can y'all see Robin, honey? She is fabulous.
Hello, everyone.
So excuse me that I keep, because I'm trying to get her.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes. All right. So Robin has came down here from Tennessee. But you know she from Westwood, Dayton's own, baby. You know. Yes. So, cousin, please tell them, to those that don't know who you are, tell them who you are and your platform and things like that.
Well, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you, cousin.
You're welcome.
Thank you, cousin, for this opportunity to share on Tina's Truth. This is like a real exciting moment for me because you know, Tina, I love you.
Yes.
And I love everything you do and all the evolving that you have become and have been has so much been enriching to my life.
Thank you.
So I want to say I'm excited. I am Robin F. Sane, for those who know me from hometown Dayton, Ohio.
Yes.
I'm also known as Robin F. David and RFD. So you can call me Coach RFD, you can call me RFD, which is just my initials for my full name. And I'm like the homie who came through a lot.
Yes,
and
indeed.
who have grown to honor myself and love myself in a different light today than before. So as Tina has said, I'm from Dayton, Ohio, from the only hood. Dayton is Westwood. You know,
Yes.
I know Trotwood people out here saying, Robin, you got that wrong, but I always got to say that Westwood is my home, and it feels good to be here today.
Yes.
I am a professional speaker, as Tina has said. I like to inspire women and men to live in their truth, to learn how to heal themselves, and learn how to get their voice to their story. And the reason I became that person, because I had to learn how to get my own voice for my story. And then also I am a published author. I'm a self-published author.
Yes.
I'm also a best-selling Amazon author with a collaboration is Healthy, Abundant, and Wise. A group of women and I did an anthology, and that was back in 2016. And I'm also a certified life coach. I focus on helping women learn how to manage their emotions after trauma. If you've been through trauma, like such as breakup, loss of a loved one, unfortunately, I've had a lot of loss. There's many different loss that I help women with. I find that grief and all those things kind of all tie together. So many different type of loss. I've lost businesses, I've lost home, car, money. So loss and grief is what I specialize in, helping people learn how to manage your emotions and come from a state of depression and stay out of a state of depression.
Yes.
And learn how to just be in a present state of joy, peace, balance, and harmony in your life. So that's what I specialize in, helping women learn how to manage.
That is fantastic. That's a lot. That is. So when did this journey start?
It started basically from the beginning of my time. I look back over my life. It started even, I would say, as early as probably over 20 years ago. I started with self-care. One of the things I started was teaching women self-care and the importance of purposeful intention self-care. So I would say maybe about 20 years ago, I became a public speaker. I started doing the self-care. And then I had a real life experience about 7 years ago, which I am also a philanthropist. I have a nonprofit organization. It's in remembrance of my youngest son, who unfortunately was shot to gun violence. And that happened in 2015. It's when I had this real spiritual awakening. So that was really time in my life that I had to sit still, be quiet, and follow the Holy Spirit, and finding out what was real for me and what really was I living. So I was living one thing, and then what was really real for me happened in like 2015.
Yes, right. Well, of course, I've said I'm sorry to hear. I was devastated about it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I was. And going through something like that, it seemed like trials, and when we go through trials and tribulations like that, that it definitely it births something else out of us. You may just have to go to line. She's trying to go live, so her followers.
Yes, excuse me, y'all. We were trying to figure out how to put me live with all the followers and friends. And
you should have stayed on your page.
Okay, hold on. I gotta go back. Page. Let me go back. And we're gonna we're gonna invite some people on from my page. So excuse me, guys. I apologize. This is my first time traveling and doing a great interview.
You gotta go to. What are you trying to go live on the RDF?
Yes, I was going. Well, I could go live on my homepage too. So either one.
So just put and then you can always share it on there, and then your live is down there, down here.
See, my photo got changed. My business partner changed it, and I get them confused. Sorry, Tina. My homepage has the same. Oh, great. Hold on, we're coming. Okay, so there it is. No, I keep going to the.
What I'm saying is, if you just go back to your page, your original page.
That's what I'm thinking I'm doing, but I haven't.
You was already on the live thing. I'm sorry, you guys. Hold on.
Okay.
And then you're gonna push this.
Okay.
Then you go live.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. So now, if you want to go to Robin's page. You can follow her as well, her followers. Hey.
Hello.
So, okay, so now she has her following as well, her people following her. So as she was stating that her your transition came when you said your son was tragic through gun violence. So you started a nonprofit. What's it called? I'm sorry.
Golden Foundation. Golden Foundation is the name of the foundation. His nickname was Goldie, so we call it Golden Foundation, and that's how we started our Memorial Foundation. It's to help women learn how to, once you had a trauma of losing a child, gun violence, you have to finally find a community to heal. And so Golden Foundation is a memorial foundation for me to honor Willie in his absence in his body, but to honor his higher self. It supports mothers and children learning how to create healthier, stronger relationships. So what I teach is the importance of self-love. The importance of that starts in our home. So when you start in the home and you learn to reinforce positive relationships, the mother and sons relationships, the children and their caregivers relationships, so that we can have stronger, healthier communities.
Over here, and I need you to kind of look straight.
Okay. Thank you. So Tina's helping me get this set up so we can do a double interview here. Thank you, Tina. And so that, so definitely my path for self-care is so important, is self-awareness of your emotions. I feel like the children need to learn to feel comfortable with their anger, disappointment. And what I found is when this tragedy happens, the mother needs to heal, but also her children. She might have other children that she needs to reconnect to, and those children also are wounded. So we set up programs to help the children learn how to create positive, healthy, strong relationships.
That is really, Robin, that's just phenomenal. So tell me something. So give me a little bit. Okay, so you grew up in Westwood, and okay, so what school did you go to?
I actually went to Valerie. I didn't go to Westwood because I was supposed to go to Westwood, but my mother ended up sending me over to, they did, at that time they had us go over to Ruskin. I went to Ruskin.
Okay.
When
they started the busing.
Yeah, they started the busing. So I lived right in front of Westwood Elementary School as a kid, but they busted us over to Ruskin. So we had to go over to the east side. That's when they were doing all this, integrating us into, having more different classroom mates and all that fun stuff. So with that, I went to Ruskin, but I always hung out at the West. Some of you may know me from the Westwood Recreation Center because I hung out there a lot because, again, my home is right across from the Westwood school and Blue Barbershop and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
So you went from then what high school did you go to?
Went to the greatest high school ever, Paul Lawrence Dunbar.
Okay.
Went to Dunbar.
All right. How was that experience?
Oh, Dunbar was a fun experience. My mother, again, had her hand in that. She actually, I think one of my addresses was assigned for me to go to Meadowdale. But Mom wanted me to go to Dunbar because she graduated from Dunbar.
Oh, okay.
And so I ended up following her path 20 years behind her. So Dunbar came out in 87 with the class of 87. I am also that person who had to repeat a year, 4th grade. So I did that in Valerie Elementary. And so I'm connected to class of 86 and 87.
Okay.
I walked in 87, but I'm connected to 86.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm that person, but I had to learn how to be confident in myself. So it's just growing through and repeating some things. But
a lot of people that had to repeat. Some people even birthdays came late. So
yeah, so I'm not. Oh, I got over it now. I'm not even judging myself by that anymore.
So after high school, what did you do?
So after high school, I immediately I went to college for a little bit down in Sinclair, but then a little bit after that, I got engaged and married, started my family, and I went to trade school. So by trade, I am a licensed nail technician, and so we started our own salon. I got married a little bit after high school, started my family, and then once we got married, we started our own full-service salon, and we had that for probably about 14 years or so before we moved to Tennessee.
Okay.
So I was a nail tech.
Okay. All right. And so marriage life.
Oh,
how many children do you have? And
marriage life.
Yeah.
Let's keep it real on this show, right? So marriage life was fun at the beginning because I was young and naive, and I got married right after high school and started having my children. We have 5 children, my ex-husband and I have 5 amazing, wonderful children. We lost Willie, which is my ex-husband is Will the Barber. Some of you know him as Will the Barber. That's how he let people know him as, is Will the Barber. So I was married to him, and we had Blessed Barber and Beauty Services, and we had a couple locations in the Dayton area.
Okay.
We had about 2 or 3. We was in Trotwood. We ended up in Trotwood, and we ended in Dayton. And we also had one in the heart of Dayton. So we had 3 different locations in our time of business. So
your marriage life, and then y'all had beautiful children and everything. So then moving on, was it turbulence?
Oh, girl, was it turbulence? Because when you're young, you get married. I did the society said, you go to high school, you get married, have your family, you find your career. So those things was unfolding. Yeah. And they went well back in the day when we first got married. I want to say the first 7 to 10 years of our marriage was fun. We were raising kids. It was cool. And then I realized about 10 years into the marriage, I was catching hell. About 10 years into the marriage, I caught some hell. And at the time, I was definitely a person who believed that at that time, I would say, Jesus is going to fix this, because I didn't know how to fix it at that time. So it was a really trying marriage, but it grew me into the woman that I am today. So I don't regret the experience, but it was not easy, Tina. It was not easy at all, because I think I seen you in some turbulence of our marriage is when we crossed paths, and when
we met, and we didn't know we were cousins at all then. I had a word for you, a prophetic word. We were at a women's conference.
We was at a women's conference.
I don't know the year. I want to say, was it 95, maybe 94, something like that, 96. I don't know.
I know. Anyway, it's been a while. It's been a while. It's hard for me to remember too, but I was so glad when you gave me that word.
Prophetic word. Yes, and you and I've been there too with you and your journey with your ex-husband, and how you believed on the word and you stayed. And I told you, I said, well, if you're gonna stay, I personally, my personal opinion was, look, girl, bye, leave. Because, I mean, do you mind?
No, I don't mind.
Okay,
no,
well, I mean, it was a lot of cheating that went on.
It was.
And kind of like my skit, cousin said, I related, and she said the side chick didn't come to my house, but I relate to him having children and having women.
Yes,
and that's what she said. She went through that. So my question to you is that you related. Why do you think you stayed with him and you went through so much with Willie?
Well, at the time, Tina, thank you for asking me that question because I love your skit and it does similar to me. But like I said, nobody knocked on my door because one thing about Big Will, he did not let the streets come into the house. Like that's his thing. It was like his wife and his kids was off limits. So if any of his baby mamas see this, y'all never came to my house or called me. But what happens is it starts to just the truth starts coming out, right? So he had these affairs and he has children while we were married. My ex-husband has a lot of children while we were married. And so I get it. It was very difficult really when 2015 came and I started to really look over my life. And I realized there was some more responsibility that I didn't hold myself accountable for because I guess in my mind I felt like if I prayed and just prayed that there was going to be like this God is going to come in and just clean all this trouble away and I'm going to have this, amazing marriage. And I stood because I felt like, well, how much hell can he take me through, right? And I felt like the hell would have ended. But when we lost Willie, that was like two things at one time because we lost Willie and my ex left and he had left like in November. When I think about life, he left. Willie turned 18 in November. November the 8th is Willie's birthday. And so Big Will and I had been going through hell. We moved to Tennessee and at first in Tennessee we were doing okay.
But as I think about that, I'm sorry, but when I think about that, how sometimes we think we can do a geographical change?
Yeah.
And like that's going to change, but he the same dude.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we're going to move to this city and we're going to, we're going to just start off afresh because that's what we think. But it's the same person. So you're just actually taking the same person to another city.
And
you understand what I'm saying? To another state. But my question was you saying you stayed because you felt like if I keep praying that God will eventually change it?
Yes.
And then it was your family and y'all had some kids.
Yes.
So nothing, even though you were praying, all the children that he kept having on you, nothing in you was like, I can't tell. I mean, you understand? Because I cannot imagine. I know I go through a breakdown about somebody cheating on me. I can't. It's horrible for me. So I can't imagine. You understand? My husband, every time I turn around, and then he left the home. Not just in Tennessee, he left the home some here in Dayton too as well, right?
He did.
The humiliation of it all. And then all you do is go to church and run a business and raise your children. That's it.
That's what I did. I go to church.
So it's like,
ran my business.
What more do man, you would think a man won't? This is what men are saying they want in a woman, and then here it is. He had the full package, which that's him. That don't mean that all men will be that way, but I'm saying him in particular. He had everything that some men pray to get. You understand what I'm saying? And yet it was not enough. But we know that had something to do with him. It had nothing to do with you.
But see, as time went on, yes, Tim. But what it had to do with me, everything did have to do with him. But I had to realize what was going on with me. And unfortunately, when we went through that, that whole thing that I went through, him wandering off and then coming back. And then that one time when he wandered off right before we lost Willie.
Yeah.
That was a lot of wake up for me. I had to learn to really sit still with myself. And I was like, this is not love, and why am I allowing myself to go through that? So I had never asked myself that, Tina. So to answer your question, at the time I was doing what I thought was right, and I didn't understand my own self-worth at that time.
That's right.
I didn't understand my own self-value at that time. I didn't understand that what love really meant was kind, gentle, patient, and all those things. And so I was like, oh, I'm not getting that in this marriage. I need to get out. So I called him, I texted him. I said, look, we need to end this, right? And so Big Will was like, okay, I'll do what we got to do. And I was like, yeah, because he wandered off right before we lost Willie. So I had, to me, two most broke heart moment,
Yes.
My marriage that I had prayed and believed that would
And you
change.
did.
And I thought that, that's how it goes. I had women from my church who marriages had turned around through prayer.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons I stayed, because, women say, oh, I prayed to God and just keep trusting God, and he ain't gonna be out there in those streets that long, and he gonna turn around and do the right thing about you and all. So I trusted that. And you get, as women, we get comfortable with, your lifestyle. You get comfortable with, taking care of you, because, at the time, taking care of 5 kids, in my mind, I didn't know how to do that by myself, because I had been used to him always.
That's right.
And I still give Will that credit. Will definitely took care of the kids, even though he ran the streets and had his other children. He still made sure that our kids was fed, clothed, and went to the best schools. Mm-hmm. And he made time for those kids as much as he wanted to. And the kids still value their daddy. Their daddy is still a good person.
Yes.
And like you said, it wasn't him. When I started to heal, I realized it was me.
Oh yeah,
it was me that was accepting less than I deserved.
That's right.
And that's what I would tell women when I finally realized that I deserved more. Then that's when I was like, let's cut these ties and let's become best friends as we can. We're amicable at this point. We had our hell in earth. We had our fighting. We had our days we fussed and we did that. But now, I feel like I wish him well, and I feel like he wishes me well. But we mind our businesses now. Mm-hmm. But it was difficult at that year in 2015.
Yeah.
When I had him wander off, and then Willie had just turned 18. So in Will's mind, the kids were grown, so he was going to do what he wanted to do at that time. And that does happen to couples. I find. If you're not a couple who is nurturing yourself along the way of raising the kids, then when those kids get grown, you don't have that same, football. You don't have those things that tie you back to the kids. And
that's right.
The kids' activities kept us together. The kids' social things kept us together. But then when we looked at each other at the end of that, when they were all grown, it was like, and I wasn't getting the respect that I deserved. So it was time to say goodbye. And so we started our divorce shortly after Willie was murdered, which was very difficult, because a lot of times if any woman is watching this and you lost a child and you are in a marriage that's not strong enough to handle it, it can really be the breaker of your marriage. It can be because Will had to deal with himself and his stuff, and I had to deal with my stuff, and we just couldn't be there for each other at the time of losing Willie. And so that really was an awakening for me to really come into loving myself a lot more and treating myself differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what did you do to help someone? I was at a nail shop or something I was at where, I was at an NA meeting. I had went, and this guy came in and he had just lost his son through AIDS. But it was another lady in there. So what they do is they share, whatever the topic is. And the guy's topic was grief of a child. And so another woman that was trying to console that brother, she was crying and she was saying to him, hearing him cry about his child, it stirred up her losing her son tragically. Now his son died of AIDS, but her son was murdered. Mm-hmm. And so she began to weep. And so it was emotional. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh God, I came to come in here because I wanted to be around. But you don't ever know what a meeting is so real. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what the topic going to be. But because I'm so emotional, my heart just went out to them. But she was saying, I'm still grieving to this day. It's like it was as if my child was shot down yesterday or this morning. She said, and I don't know what else, I don't know what to do. She said, if I didn't have the rooms of NA to come to, I probably would have killed myself. So what do you do and what path? I know it took time. You went through your grieving process, okay? Because again, I tell people all the time, first thing people want to say is pray. Listen, there are times in my life where I could not open my mouth to pray. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? My tears prayed for me. Mm-hmm. I couldn't utter. I just couldn't. I was just so low. I just did not. You know what I'm saying? You know how our big mamas name, you would hear them just, that was a prayer. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't have no words to say. Then you go through a thing where you be mad at God. Let's just keep that real.
That's true.
You understand what I'm saying? You be angry like, why are all the kids in the world or all the mamas in the world, why'd you take my... I'm just saying it doesn't matter. You just go through those things. So what did you do that will help another mother, Robin, that maybe she can implement that in her life? What did you do to get you through losing your baby?
It was not easy, Tina. And again, I do understand every person's grief is going to be different. For me, it was really listening and being still with God. Like really, because I get why people get angry with God when things don't go their way, or you pray for something and it doesn't happen. And losing a child, grief is... it's going to happen, right? To murder, like losing your child any type of way. It's not easy for a parent to lose a child. And every parent is going to grieve differently. And why I would say that, because the Holy Spirit taught me that I had a choice. I could either flatline or I could choose to live. He told me that in my experience. He said, Robin, you can flatline your life or you can choose to live. And flatlining my life would have been just staying bitter. And angry and upset. And so I was like, what do you mean, God? I gotta choose to live or choose to die? And he's like, because grief can take you out.
Most definitely.
It can take you out. Me, Tina, I literally just cried and I sat still. And he kept telling me to just be still. And I had to stay in a state of meditation. And so breathing techniques was what I had to do. I had to literally cry and just sit there. And then I had this vision of a group of women who said, Robin, I need you. When I opened my eyes, I seen these women say, Robin, we need you. And I was like, oh my goodness, God. So he was like, you can choose. And then that's when I met the Mothers for Justice and Equality, which is a nonprofit organization. And I started to become a speaker there. I go to Boston yearly to this conference. Mothers for Justice and Equality is a national conference. But I noticed that God would always send me somebody. When I started crying and all that kind of stuff, he would always kept sending me somebody. But one thing came to me was that Willie didn't want to see me unhappy, because I was already unhappy when Willie was on earth. And so he would come to me and be like, Mom, I don't want you to be sad. And then I realized how I was like, he don't want me to be sad. And so God kept showing me, like, I got the invitation to be a speaker at the Mothers for Justice and Equality. But every morning I would get up, Tina, and sit still. Just sit still and quiet. I would cry in the mirror. I would talk to God and just sit there. And so God would say, today you're going to do this. And today you're going to do that. And I was like, okay. So I presently, before Willie was murdered, and why Big Willie and I were going through our beginning stages of our separation and divorce, and final divorce and separation, I was already kind of eating right, you guys. I was exercising, and I just heard the Holy Spirit tell me to continue. He was like, continue, get up every morning and work out. Continue to eat right. And I think if it wasn't for those practices, that's why I'm a big advocate of self-care.
No, they like, girl.
Self-care is that's your preventative before life happens.
Yes.
And what I find is, if it's almost like the virus we have, if you already have preconditions and it can take you out. So like, you know, and so it's almost like it was almost like the Holy Spirit had prepared me for my most broken moment, which is deciding that I was going to be married to Willie David, which was my former husband, and accepting that relationship wasn't the best for me, and accepting that my youngest son, which is named after his dad, his name is Willie, that he was murdered. And I had to accept that. And that was just meditation and breathing. The breathing techniques that I do is just sitting still, because my brain was all over the place.
Yes, and the breathing really does help.
My mind was all over the place, so I just added breathing, and I sat and breathed every morning, like 15 minutes in the morning. I would breathe. I'll continue eating correctly, and I was in a 5 a.m. workout. And God just kept telling me, I was just inspired to keep going to my workout. So when you work out, something about working out and you feel better. So every day it wasn't like I was just, I didn't choose. I know some other mothers who choose to drink because I've also lost cousins to gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my oldest cousin's son was lost. So I'm not talking about her because I love her, but her thing was she drank and she drank. And I knew, and that's what God told me. He said, Robin, you're going to meet a variety of mothers. Every mother has their own experience, because what we find with grief is, how did you and that person interact here on earth? And sometimes it's getting that resolved with self, that person is no longer physically there to resolve. But Willie was that motivator. Willie was the inspiration. Willie taught me. And what I got to tell people is, every person in your life is a teacher.
Yes.
See, Willie was teaching me that I was unhappy. Willie was teaching me that I wasn't living in present. Willie was teaching me that I wasn't living to my best. And he was actually showing me who I was. And I accepted Willie in that state. Mm-hmm. And I accepted that he was so angry here on earth that he just wanted to rest. He just wanted to leave this place. What happens is, also Willie's story is unique, because as time went on, I found out Willie was standing up for his friends. So he was shot in our backyard. Let me share that part really quick. And he was at home minding his business, but he was taken up for one of his dear, dear friends. So he kind of laid his life down.
He did.
For me to live mine. Mm-hmm. And he laid his life down. His friend is still healing, his best friend and buddy that he grew up with. Because we left Dayton when Willie was a little bitty boy, so he only knew Tennessee.
Oh, that's right.
So Tennessee was my youngest kids. That's their thing. Tennessee, Murfreesboro. So he was so, and so I had to accept that Willie's choices. And the last conversation Willie and I had the day that he was shot, he said, Mom, you're right. And so Will and I did our best to talk to him about, he was just a high schooler. He was a senior in high school. And like most of us, we were teenagers making choices that sometimes were not the best associations. And he had finally got it, because he has a little boy that's 7 now. And so she was pregnant in there at the day that he was shot. And so Willie,
she was there.
Yeah, the young lady was there. My grandson's mother was at the house when Willie got shot, so she had to live through that and see her baby daddy get shot and not come back from the hospital. But within that, I realized that Willie he told me that day, Mom, you're right. He had already agreed with me. He had cut off all his friends. He wasn't on Instagram, and he didn't have all these things going on with social media because he was pregnant. When boys get pregnant, Tina, you know how our stomach will start showing. But boys mentally start figuring out, how can I take care of my baby? So Willie was working, and he was going to school, and he was making rules like, I'm going to do this for my son. I'm going to do this for my child. So his mind was like, I'm cool with these niggas in the streets, right? I ain't even fooling with them, Mom. I ain't cool. So this little boy was so Willie was in that state of, he's about to raise his son, and the other little boy came, and he was in his rage. And so things
with his friend.
Yeah. And so they had an altercation, and then the other little boy was already shooting in the community, and he decided, Willie was laying on his back. He was laying flat on his back. The little boy came over with the gun and put the gun underneath his arm while he was laying on his back, and he shot him with a 22. So he didn't have any choice but to bleed out, from what I can tell, that 22s do. But anyway, from that tragedy, I had to sit still and breathe, Tina. That's really what happened. And then, like I said, staying in a marriage like that was kind of like, I was just hopeful that the prayers would turn around. But now I realize in my spiritual self that we have our own work to do as well. So praying is good, but it's work that we still have to do.
And that's it, because like I say all the time, faith without works is dead. I can pray all day long, but if I'm not doing anything, then nothing is going to change. And then what I also learned is that when I changed, everything around me changed. The energy shifted.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So when I got sober, which that's not the first time I got sober. I got sober a lot of times. But this time I just knew, after I came out of my toxic marriage, And mine was through him being insecurity, and it was volatile.
Okay.
You know, I went through a lot of that. Maybe the last 2 years we didn't. It wasn't physical, but it was mental now. Mm-hmm. And I was a part of it. You know, I cannot leave myself out. I was very abusive mentally and verbally. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. And so with him not knowing how to deal with anybody articulating themselves like that, he didn't know any other way to handle it but physically. Mm-hmm. Or, you know what I'm saying, to stop from probably hurting me because of how low I would go. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when I got out of that, and then, of course, you know, my brother went to penitentiary for manslaughter, and that is, you know, what you know the story, that is where the beginning of my life began. I thought that it was the end of my life. I felt like it. Mm-hmm. And then, but to turn out of that, him going, is where I'm at today. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, out of that birthed Safe Haven Cleaning. Then all of my gifts started back surfacing. You know what I'm saying? Because you can be married and still be doing the right thing. And if you don't have the right mate that nourishes you, it's not going to work. Because I was feeding the homeless. I had the prison ministry going up there. But he was jealous of even that. Of the inmates that's in the prison. What you trying to talk to them, or if somebody came and got me, then they, you know, Tony Ruby came and got me with his prison. He owned a ride to different prisons. He had a problem with me riding with Tony Ruby. Just, you know, it's like you can't even mentally get your mind together because you know it's going to be something ignorant when you get home. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and then anytime I had to speak, he purposely would be late. And then that would enrage me where I start talking about him bad. Now I got to get myself together before I go in front of people to speak. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it was just, you know, I'm just so glad for him too, that we are free to live our best.
Girl, I love the part where you said for him too. Because
for him too.
I literally feel like that for my ex-husband,
you know,
my husband, because that's how it is. You are entrapped in the partnership.
Yeah.
That you can't be all yourself. And definitely I understand that. That's why, again, when Big Will and I separated, or he wandered off and left me right after Willie turned 18 in November of 2015. And then 2014. And then Willie got shot and he got, you know, moved on. That's when I finally come into my full self of who I am, because you got to have a partner that can support you on your who you are journey. If you don't have that person, like you saying, that always got you upset, because that's, you know, I lived that whole life. I've always taught, spoke, trained, facilitated as a nail technician, all those things. But then those things was just good for me, but then when I would get home to my marriage and my husband wasn't there,
girl,
you know, my husband wouldn't be there. Like I didn't did a platform and signed all these forms and worked with all the amazing women worldwide, right? You know, some people know me from different things I've trained and teached on.
Yeah, you're phenomenal.
And then what happens is I go home.
Your home life a mess.
Yeah, I go home to a husband that just wandered off. You know, he's not there, but you know, like I said, he wasn't there. But this one, I do have to tell you though. But he was a person who would invest in me. Big Will would invest in me. If I had to go out of town, do some training, even though he'd be wandered off, he'd be like, we have a good trip, train. You know, he was always that cheerleader. I have to say Will cheered me on, but he didn't give me that hug like I really needed, or that wholeness that I needed, like for the next future man. He has to be on his platform, on his game, so we can be partners in our relationship.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't get that. I didn't get that when I got home. That celebrated partnership that you're saying that you didn't get as well.
No, I know. Mine was jealous of not just me, of other men. He was, to me, he would beg to differ, but I'm telling you what it was. He was even jealous of who I knew and who I was with before him. And you know, what do those people have to do with you? You don't understand what I'm saying? You knew my past before I married you, so it's no need. Why would you even be okay to marry somebody and ask somebody to marry you if you know you're not okay with their past? But I had no business marrying him anyway.
Right.
I ignored the red flags, and a lot of us do that. We will ignore red flags. You want to stop it?
No, it's okay. It's my youngest daughter. I'm going to text her in just a second.
You want to push X?
Oh, yes, yeah. I will. I'll push that. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. But,
okay. Yeah.
So when you,
okay,
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead. I'm trying to
turn. This is the second time. If I don't keep going, I'll be forgetting what I'm about to say. What was I saying? Oh yeah, just being jealous of who you are, just jealous of just you, your gifts, your people love you. You know what I'm saying? Your family that's there for you, just jealous of it.
Well, it does boil down to that though a little bit that your mate, if they're not a call to your assignment, who you are, it does kind of be like that. They're a little bit the insecurity, the jealousness. It shows in all those type of ways when they're not there supporting. Like I give him that credit because a lot of things I did in training and stuff I couldn't afford on my own. So definitely know that
that's good.
That he would pour into those avenues that you see me becoming more of.
Yes.
But I needed him.
Well, you needed him most. That's
I needed him emotionally
and
physically, like more, where he was not able to give me that, and that's what I was able to accept about my marriage too. Because it was a lot of days I cried, and you asked me how did I do it. I didn't get. I would cry through the nights, when he would wander off and be doing his thing. I would cry through the nights.
Did you ever ask him why? Like, what is it about me? Did you say that to him? Y'all been together forever. Were you like, Will, what is it that you feel the need to keep?
I have asked him. I asked him, did he have a sex addiction? Like I asked him that early in our marriage. We want to go to counseling. He was like, no, I'm not doing that, Rob. I'm not doing that. And so he wasn't going to counseling with me. He wouldn't want to go to counseling. He didn't want to. But I had to, again, in our marriage, because we got married so young, Will did say, we were kids when we got married, but he did tell me, he told me, this is what I had to say about Will. He did tell me that he didn't know how to love a woman. So when I look over my whole shenanigans with him, he literally was telling me the truth about himself from the day I met Will. But I didn't know what his truth really meant until it was just, I was tired of it. Like I was just tired of accepting his truth, and I wanted my own truth.
Yeah.
Like I wanted my own truth, meaning that I deserve a man that accept me, all of me, and and could be there for me. Because I really realized he couldn't be there for me. I had to accept that he couldn't be there for me. But initially, Tina, before Will married me, and not telling all of his business, but he had some already issues that he said, Rob, I got this issue, but he wasn't willing to go get deeper into and I didn't understand how, because everybody's trauma is a different layer of trauma. So when I say I'm a coach, I can coach you for self-care and mindfulness, but some people need therapy and some people need medication. Some people need more deeper reasons so they can understand. For me, the Holy Spirit taught me how I was broken as a kid and how Will was broken as a kid and how we came together because we were repeating our childhood experience.
How was your childhood? Was your father in your life?
He wasn't. My father was, but not. But my parents was divorced. So I was divorced, a divorced kid. My parents got divorced when I was too young to really think that it affected me. But once I realized, Tina, it did affect me. It did affect me because I didn't have the judgment of what I really needed in a man because I didn't have that whole man role model. Now, again, I love my father, rest his soul. He did his best in his state of being because my mother divorced him when they were young. They got married young and divorced. And my mother, as a mature woman now, she wished she would have made more time for my dad to spend with me. She now understands the value that she did. Probably at the time was like she didn't want to deal with my dad. She was in her own hurt and her own pain, right? So we're products of that, right? So I'm a product of my parents' divorce. Will's a product of his experience. And so when we got grown, we both prayed that we wanted the curse to be erased. So we were clear. And like I said, I have to give my ex, even though I'm glad that we're in our space and where we are, I have to give him that credit because he told me, I have a problem, Robin. I don't know really how to respect a woman because of his own story. And I'm not going to tell you all his story. But his story is reason, because men do infidelity for different reasons. And so that was his insecurity that he had always had to deal with. And he literally told me that before I said I do.
See, that's a prime example of when people tell us who they are, we must believe them.
Yes, that is
but
true.
You were
that's
young,
true.
but I'm saying this is a go ahead, get your.
But
thing.
no, we think we're gonna change.
We think
them,
we as women,
and prayer is gonna change.
Yeah, or what? And that's not true.
No, it's not.
That's not.
It's not true.
I'm sorry, and I mean, so if you're right now in a toxic marriage, and listen, everybody's journey is different. So let me make that perfectly clear. Just like I said with my cousin at that time, and we didn't even know we were cousins, but when she would go through it, and I would say, "Do you want to stay?" And I would be like, I'm thinking to myself, I hope she say yes, so we can, then we can all just be glad, and she can move on and meet somebody else. And honey, because I just think she's beautiful, she just is a good woman. So she would say, no, I want to fight for my marriage. At that moment, I put aside what my opinion was because it didn't matter. I said to you, I'm with you. I said, well,
I'm going to say about that, Tina, I appreciate you. I'm going to cut you off right
there.
Because my prayer partners who watch this later on, my prayer partners pray with me. I have significant prayer partners. Tina is my cousin, and she's been praying with me for a long time. When she gave me that prophetic word, she was praying for the deliverance and the healthiness of my marriage at that time.
I didn't even know.
It did turn around we had our on and off time, right? Me and Big Will had those on and off times. But when I say that, it was a toxin to the point where I had to realize, hey, I'm 30 plus years in with this man. I spent 30 plus years with Willie David. And so I got to live my life eventually. I got to find out who is RFD. And so really, Robin Sane, the real Robin Sane needed to come out. But Tina, all my prayer partners would ask me that, like, are we praying? And now that I got out, and one of my besties might see this, she started crying. My bestie was in my wedding. She said, I'm so glad you got out. I just never could tell you that I needed you to get out that marriage. And I love you guys who stood there with me and hoped that God, but then I realized the God in me is me making better choices and understanding my own worth. And that took a little bit time for me to realize how worthy I am, how great I am.
Like 30 plus years.
It took me a
while.
So
that's what I'm saying. What somebody may learn in a year. Because like my ex-husband got married again. And he wasn't even married, I don't think, 2 years. And old girl was like, deuces. Whereas I stayed, you understand, way longer than that. And I'm older than the both of them. He's 15 years my you understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying I don't really know nothing about her because I didn't care one way or the other. That ain't no disrespect to her. I just could care less. Get away. Good. But what I mean is, when you marry somebody, here's my thing. Let me just jump on this real quick because I've seen this happen so often. Women be so thirsty. It's some women. When you see that a man has left a relationship or he's still married, and you so hungry that there's no way that man has him in particular, and he know it. You were not over. You was just trying to come over, and then the next thing I know, I didn't know. I went. A friend of mine went down there with me, and my niece went for the divorce. But the reason why he was pursuing, I had been asking for a divorce. That's why I'm not paying a dime for nothing. I don't care nothing about you. Because I wasn't trying to jump into another relationship or anything. You understand what I'm saying? So it didn't matter to me. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So you get it whenever you get it. And he met this young lady. And then I know him. I knew the minute that he was like, well, I just need you to sign these papers. I'm like, boy, I'll sign them, but you're not coming here. But that's why. He didn't do it. She asked to marry him.
Well, that's what happened in part 2. I'm not going to mention, but my ex-husband is remarried, and he got remarried before the ink on our divorce was, because he did decide
Did they last? Did their marriage last?
They're still married.
They're still married.
But so what happens is, I asked him to pay for it, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all why. I am not paying for the divorce. I said, you pay for the divorce. And so he paid for the divorce because that's what he wanted to do. Because I feel like the pressure was on because he had been in this situation that he's married in now. And I wish them well because, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the kind of stuff that happened. I was like, you gonna pay for that? Okay, pay for it because I wasn't paying for it. I'm just gonna tell you I was cheap. Now there was a lot of women who paid for their divorcing.
Well, some of them do, because they be like, I'm ready to get up out of this.
No, I'm not telling you not to do that.
Right.
But I was like,
I
I'm not cheap, but I wasn't paying for it. But I felt like, look, dude, if you want to be running the streets, pay for that. Pay for that. You pay for all that. And then at the end of the day, when you finalize that paper, then you remember that you made this choice. And you live with that. And I wished him and his new wife the best.
Girl, I was happy.
I wish y'all the best.
I was happy.
I do, girl. I really do.
No, I know you sincere. I'm just telling
really
you.
good at night anymore.
Honey, I'm gonna tell you, it was the best thing that happened to me. But I did have to tell Nate, forgive me. Once I started healing, because I was so bitter. But I'm gonna tell you what ended up bothering me, and I didn't know why, is when I heard he was having a baby. I don't know why him getting married, I didn't care. But I think because I had kept losing ours.
Okay.
And so when I heard he was having a baby by her, which I said to myself, I know him. I said, this nigga is probably marrying that girl because she's pregnant. Just before I even knew. This is what I'm thinking to myself when I did think about it. Because I was going through my own stuff, Robin. My brother getting ready. I don't know if my brother facing 25 to life. I'm back using. I'm bitter. The snitch was across the way. Girl, I'm going through my own battles. You understand what I'm saying? I'm waking up drinking, going to sleep drinking. I don't give a fuck. Listen, sir. I don't care nothing about it. I just felt so good. Like I said, the flowers even started growing when he left up out of here. They really did because of the energy that was there. But as I began to heal, and I was like, you know, I definitely owe this man an apology. For one, because I knew better. And even while we were exchanging vows, see, we were supposed to write our own. I think I went on Google or something because I couldn't think of nothing to say.
That's funny, girl.
And he knew it. He, in an argument one time, he was like, you ain't never loved me. That's why yours wasn't even sincere. And I felt so bad, but because I'm the type that once I commit to something, I'm in it. If I'm with you, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. Even if I don't feel that, I'm going to still be 10 toes down with you, right? Mm-hmm. Even at the risk of my own happiness. I know that's horrible, but that's all I know for real. I never dated anybody that I think one person, maybe we're talking about when we got grown. Of course, your puppy love when you and David first got. When y'all first got married, when you and Will first got married. You know, that funny butterfly feeling you get when you see him and all that kind of stuff. No, I went after childhood and after I started learning. That my body could get me whatever I wanted, and I went down that stage, and then that's when the crack era hit, and a lot of the guys were getting money and getting, you know what I'm saying, and they wanted to give it to me, and I realized that, so I never really liked these people for them. To after some of them, I started learning who they were and I loved them. But initially, it was because of what they could do. You see what I'm saying? But then there are some that I did grow to have a great friendship with and are friends with them to this day. But to be brutally honest, I've never loved anybody because I did not love myself.
Oh, that's such key.
So I cannot say I loved you when I didn't love me.
That's a key point. And
they only saw what I allowed them to see. They never really knew the real. See, because in the streets, it's all, she crazy, or some of the guys, because I have showed psychotic behavior with them when they cheated.
Right. I know cheating is not
I'm not playing. I'm not with that shit. People will get hurt, and not the woman, unless you say something. Because when I'm talking to him, please be real still. Don't say nothing to me.
Well, see, that too, like, I never dealt with any of Will's affairs. Like, any of his baby mama. I don't do baby mama drama. I didn't do that. I don't do it. All right? So I didn't deal with his women or his mothers of his children. But I dealt with Will. I did deal with Will. Yeah. Like, I was like, what? You having another nigga? What's going on? You know, he'd be like, I'm going to go to church, baby. Let's pray. Like, but he would like go to church. Like, I'm going to pray with you, Rob. And I really think that he did not really want to have as many children outside of his marriage as he did. Because that was just trifling.
He did not use protection.
That's what I say. That's where the trifling part come in. Because if trifling, you could have put on the rubber, right? If Will see this, he could have put a rubber on. But the thing about it is, he regretted it because he got caught without the rubber. But what I learned, you know, I love you, Will. You know. Even because of what keep Will and I together, we got these children and grandchildren.
And them grandbabies. Yeah, and they so beautiful.
He's always reminded about me through the kids, and then I'm reminded about him. So we're going to always be cool on that. Me and Will will always be friends. But this is what I'm saying, though. I had to learn to forgive myself, Tina. What you said was you had to go back and forget. And the more you learn to love yourself, the more you're willing to allow that person that you move on from to be themselves. because practicing forgiveness when that happened was my main thing. When you said what else I did breathing techniques, but I was willing to forgive myself. And what that looked like, y'all, was not like, I told myself that every day in the mirror. I say, I'm willing to forgive you. I went back to the little girl. I would go visit the little girl in me. And I would tell her, we're going to heal together. And I won't ever leave you again. I won't allow, and I will have a voice never to, I would definitely, the brother get with me now and cheat. I would definitely check him way, Big Will didn't get the checking that the other brother would get. Because it's going to be like, dude, I'm zero tolerance on that.
Oh, you're bye.
And so I need a person who's willing to do their healing work too. So
that's right.
So they've already had all their cheating days behind them, right? That brother,
you better.
That brother can inbox me. If you done cheating, you can inbox me. Don't leave that out, because I can smell a brother that cheat, right? I know how to move. I know how. My mama taught me this: if they schedule change, something ain't right.
Oh, well,
one
they
thing about
are the worst cheaters anyway.
They tell on themselves.
They tell on themselves. They're trash at cheating.
Yeah, men can't cheat anyway. So basically, I chose to forgive myself, and that was an affirmation work that I was practicing.
Not a cheating. They don't know how to keep it a secret.
That's right.
That's what I mean. But because they're good at cheating, but they don't know how to keep it from their significant other or their wife. They get caught every time. My first husband wasn't good. Actually, the side piece called my house, and my brother answered the phone, and she said, "Can you talk?" Now I'm 22 years old. Anybody that know me back then, okay, and so my brother answered. And you know, we down. Me and our brother are close. So he keep talking. Because he want to know, like, this nigga cheating on my sister. So he talking to her. She like, well, how long she going to be there? And when you leaving? Or what time you coming over? He'll like, I don't know. I'm going to call you back. I'm going to call you back. She's so dizzy. You can't tell his voice from my brother's voice. So my brother looking strange. And at that time, I used to braid all the time. So I'm like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, nothing. I'm saying, he said, I'll tell you about it. I said, what? I said, no, tell me now what? What happened? What's going on? I'm thinking something about him because I'm so overprotected by him. He like, hey, old boy messing around on you. I'm like, what? He like, Aunt Stacy, that was some bribe for Stacy. She talking about, can he talk here and what time he'll be over? Girl, ooh, when I say. Now, rejection come from, the issue that I dealt with came from childhood. Like a little girl, from my biological not being there. So I immediately already had that, right? So that's a baggage that I didn't even know I had. But any kind of rejection, it seemed like I went back to that little girl that we talking about. So when that happened, I'm thinking, he cheating. So I'm thinking to myself, now, and this is not being funny or whatever, or I'm just saying, I'm 22. To me, I'm cute in the face, thin in the waist. I'm keeping you happy sexually. So I'm thinking, because you wasn't even on my level sexually. I'm trying to bring you up to where I'm at. And we living good. We got a house. We driving good. We got a business. We both working at Right Pat. And he working at Good Sam. What are you cheating? I'm not understanding. We living for the Lord. We go to church every Sunday, so immediately I'm going to myself. This nigga has really deceived me. I haven't even went through nothing like this in the streets. So when I called the number back, you remember that's when star 6 something you can call back. I can't remember what that was. So I did that. Your phone went dead. You got an iPhone?
And I didn't bring my charger.
You got an iPhone?
Yes. And I didn't bring because I thought my phone was charged up last night. Maybe the charger wasn't on last night. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. Here, you can plug that up. But anyway, honey, I don't call the girl at this time. So he comes in from work. Now, when he come in from work, that's both of my husbands. Dinner is always done. His bath water was always ran because I learned that from my mother. So, and his clothes were set out. Whether he wanted to go somewhere or not, I just have him something comfortable or whatever. So when he come in, he like, hey. So now my brother like, oh, God. Like, don't say nothing. Wait till we leave. Nigga, wait till we leave. I think I tried. I didn't know how to do nothing like that. Anyway,
I'm laughing because I know that was hard.
Yes, it was very difficult. So I asked him. I said, "Let me talk to you for a second." I said, "Listen, Pumpkin answered the phone, and some broad answered." And I mean, some girl was on the other end and talking about, "Can you talk? Who was that?" And girl, he got the grin and talking about, "What are you talking about?" See, that's the last thing I need to see is your teeth. Because what's funny? What's funny? But I didn't know that my ex-husband would laugh when he was nervous or uncomfortable. I didn't know that. And he denied it or whatever, girl. So I ended up boiling some water and told him by the time that water and that oatmeal got to boiling, if he didn't, come with something. And so my brother trying to tell him, man, let's go. He's still walking around the house. Because my first ex-husband was real laid back guy. So he walking around like it was a joke. It wasn't nothing a joke, girl. Make the long story short, I ended up flinging that pot of water on him, and it only little splatters got on his back. Did. I tried to drench him in it. But, and then I eventually end up finding out who she was and where she worked and all that stuff. And she told me that, they had been messing around for a couple of months. And when I seen her, it made me realize then that you're not, whatever you have in your mind or thinking that you all that, you're not. Because, and not saying that he just wasn't nothing I thought he would have cheated with. That's devastating. But when I confronted him and told him about how she looked and blah, 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 and you cheating on me, blah, 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 he was like, look, I don't care how pretty you are or whatever. You're ugly on the inside.
Oh, that's what he said.
And he told me my mouth was horrible. So,
what does that mean?
With that being said, your mouth, it's just a lot of things I learned through marriages. I don't know. Push next.
That's why I pushed next, but I was like, it won't do nothing.
Your broadcast has ended.
Well, and I didn't want to push delete, do I?
No. Let me see it.
That's what I said. I don't know.
But it might not. I don't know. It might be something else. It might be
juiced up.
No. For whatever reason. But anyway, so make a long story short, honey, we go through a lot as women. My thing is believe who you are. Love yourself first before you can try to love somebody else. If you've been through divorce like Robin and I, my thing that I did was the same thing, because breathing, I started eating right. I have a therapist. Which I had a therapist on and off, but I really took it serious this time. I'm not on any meds because I don't. Some people may need them. I choose to go to herbs. I go to the health food store and whatever that is. Then I take that. You know what I'm saying? Because but he did tell me I operate in a flight stage. There's no middle. And so that's not the first therapist that ever told me that. So apparently they know what they're talking about.
It's called the fight to flight.
So I don't have a middle stage, and they wanted me to get. They want to try to get me to a middle. So now, my therapist said, when you feel yourself getting ready to go straight for the jugular, just do your breathing right then, and and kind of think about what you want to say. You know what I'm saying? Because life and death is in the power of the tongue, and those that eat the fruit thereof. And that is a scripture that I stand on because I know that words are so powerful. And the things that I've said, that's why I apologize to my ex-husband, because I actually told that man that my brother killed the wrong nigga and it should have been him dead, and I could collect on the insurance money. And I meant that at that time. I did, because I was so bitter and so wounded. But I know how painful that could have, just somebody to say that. You know what I'm saying? Things like, I just wish somebody blow your head off. And I remember him saying to me, because he don't come from a family like that. He said, how could you say something? You know what I'm saying? He said, I mean, it's angry, and I may not, I just would never say nothing like that to you. He was like, and you talking about God?
Well, that's
what he said.
That's true, because even in my marriage, I wasn't perfect in my marriage. Let me give that clarity too. There was times early in my marriage, the way I fought back in the beginning of my marriage when my ex was wandering off and doing his thing, I would give him a tongue lashing as well. But I realized tongue lashings wasn't beneficial. And see, Big Will he knew that I have the Holy Spirit, because I could get hot-headed with him, and then I would call him back and say, I apologize, and he'd be like, oh, there you go, you're gonna call me in a minute talking about you sorry, there you go, cussing me out right now, then you're gonna be calling me in a few minutes saying, I'm sorry, because I would get convicted by the Holy Spirit. My inner person would be saying like, no, that's not the way you want to handle this. And it is important to breathe in all states. And so being still, breathing in the morning for me was really, and then one day I woke, I had did it so much that my thoughts, I realized that I have the will to think about what I want to think about.
Yes, that's right.
And when I realized that, because I had always asked God, I pay my tithes, I go to church, I do all these things, but I had to renew my mind daily. daily renewing your mind. Because a fight to flight, you mentioned that your therapist is. So I was a fight to flight, and I always get worried and fight, and sometimes Will wasn't doing anything, and I would just create them in my mind because
it have happened so much.
It happens so much, and so we women tend to sometimes create things that are not there
when
as
it's
well.
Peaceful. You will sabotage. That's self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage, and I definitely help women learn when you're doing that. It's because when you're in your head and you haven't really, really learned to love yourself, understand why you make that choice, and you start to feel like you need to cut yourself off from that, and or you don't deserve it. And that comes from, like you said, like as a child, if you're a woman who had an absent father or absent mother. I work with a young lady right now who has an absent mother, and
people can be also absent even though they're in the home. Know that some men, some fathers and mothers can be. You can still be absent parents.
Say that part.
They work all the time, or
right.
they in the home and that's just it.
They
come home, go to work, go to sleep, and then they're in the streets. So some people have literally been raised with their mom and dad, and the dad was still an absent dad. You understand what I'm saying?
That's so true.
You know, everybody had so many different journeys and things that they have been through, and we all have been through. Your thing may not be like my last guest, just when we were saying your addiction may not be smoking dope or weed or loud, whatever, but your addiction may be men. Your addiction may be sex. Your addiction may be, all kind of things. So my thing is everybody needs to just keep their mouth off people. And just know that we all are listen.
Yes, we're all
a step away from whatever. But there's a journey and there's work. You have to do work. That's the bottom line.
It is.
In order to stay like this, I have to continue to do what I do every day, which is maintain a peace of mind. Mm-hmm. And that only comes from the Most High. I cannot allow myself. I don't be around no nonsense. My nerves can't take it for one. And I'm not interested in fruitless conversations with nobody. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And like you said, if I don't love me, I can't love you. And then you can't get mad because a guy treats you a certain way. See, men pick up on, and a lot of times we as women do a lot of pillow talking. We talk too much. You only known the guy 5 days, and the nigga know your whole life. And then he'll use that. Oh, her daddy ain't in her life. Oh, her brother in the joint. Oh, the other dude played on her. She stayed 10 years. Well, shit, I'm gonna have it good.
Yeah,
you understand what I mean?
Right. That's right. You are so Tina. Did you just touch a nerve for me, girl? Because that's what we women do. We talk too much.
Too much.
We need to listen to these brothers. They tell us when they broke. They not broken just financially broke. When they broken type of man. Period. If we ask them the right questions and we sit back and be quiet, and that's what I've learned as I'm moving forward and I meet gentlemen. I listen. And I'm like, oh, yes. I don't try not to tell them everything too, because you're so right. I had to learn that.
I had to learn it. And I'm an open person.
Yeah, I'm still practicing that because as an empath, I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm going to just tell you how sweet I am. And then they be like, oh, your ex-husband cheated on you for that long? Let me see how long I can get over on that.
Get away with it.
Yeah, that's true. And so basically, you're right, Tina. We don't need to talk as much. We need to just ask the right questions.
That's right.
And what questions matter to you, what values that you have now in your life. And you're right. Again, I have to say that there are parents in the households. That doesn't make the family. There are all brokenness happening in people's families. Because I find out people who have had two parents and parents might not told them the whole truth. They find out later on when they get grown.
That's so true.
And they like, oh my God, that wasn't my real daddy for 35 years. I'm just finding out.
That is,
you know what I'm saying?
I witnessed a friend that went through that. Or the dad done cheated and got a whole nother family somewhere else. And the mama stayed. So a lot of times women subconsciously stay with people because they've learned behavior. It's learned behavior. Mm-hmm. You know, Big Mama didn't leave when Grandpa was out, and he got his other. Grandpa got 19 kids. Yeah. Then a lot of times we don't share. We should share because in our culture, what goes on in this house, stay in this house, and which is why Bookie and Boo Boo keep molesting all the cousins in the house because nobody's supposed to say nothing. Nobody got therapy. We just move on. You understand? Nothing gets dealt with. Therapy just wasn't a thing that you're going to therapy today. It's go take a nap or you'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? You'll get over it. You know what I'm saying? My mother was strong. Like, girl, don't be crying for too long, honey. Because my great grandmother told my mother it take another one to get over that one.
what? And adding to that, we all told to, long as he pay the bills, long as he pay the bills, girl, he pay the bills, he work, that's a good man. No. And that's another reason too. That's another reason I stayed for so long.
Well, you did say for financial stability, because how I'm gonna take care of all these kids with my income? When it's two income, it's a life-changing experiment, and you got the kids to look at too. Yeah, like they living from this lifestyle to go to this, where they're not gonna be on that same level they were when their dad was in the house. But you sacrificed your own, and that's what mothers do, though. That's what mothers do at the sake of their own. But that's not nothing that I want to pass down to my nieces and them. Like I tell them, listen to me when I tell y'all something. I can't tell you your journey, but I'm just telling y'all. And it wasn't too long ago that your auntie was in some foolishness, and I knew better. You know how they say if you know better, you do better, but that wasn't the case. With me, I knew better, and I still didn't do better. But because I wasn't healed. So when that true healing came, and I learned my self-worth, even though we can put on the mask, and you was going to work, and you was life coaching, and nobody knew at home your husband somewhere running around.
Yeah, that's right.
They thinking that, I know she got it together, and you're so beautiful, and all the advice you have, it's like, why you don't take that same damn advice? Because my girlfriend can call me, and I'll tell her, like, girl, listen, leave that nigga, girl, and you worked it, you pretty, and all that, and then I'm coming home to some sucker bucker shit. You feel me? Like, I don't know what that was. It's like I cared more about others than I did for myself.
Yes, in wrapping this whole story up, that's what I did. I used to celebrate others, used to want to make sure that others thought that, my house was perfect in Jesus' name, and all this was perfect. We went to church, we paid our tithes, we did all that, right? You do it for other people as well. And I think a lot of people are unhappy in some marriages because they do it for other people. And when I did have my whole awakening that you now know me as, and learn to love myself as, and value myself, and apply my own teachings, I practice what I teach now for myself daily. I understood that, like, I'm celebrating everybody but me. I gotta celebrate me. So I told a little girl in me, I said, you're wonderful, cutie. And I told her, I will never leave you again.
That's right.
I will never make those choices for you again, beautiful. I told the little girl in me. So you gotta find your little girl, your little boy, and you go back to them and you tell them, look, we're gonna go on this journey, and we're gonna advocate for ourselves. We're gonna speak up for ourselves. We like how we look. We like how I feel. And nobody else can be in my space. Like Tina said, you don't have time for fruitless conversation or fruitless relationships.
That's so
true.
And
so when we divorced, I decided that only the right people will make time with me. I can have any Tom, Dick, or Harry, right? But I don't want Tom, Dick, or Harry, right? So I'm saying, because I deserve more than Tom, Dick, and her.
And so worth it.
Yo, you are too. Oh my God, I love my cousin. I love my cousin.
I'm telling you right now,
I'm excited to be on your show today.
Yeah, this has been so great. Hey, Chelsea, I was just talking about you, girl.
Hello.
Yes, so
I'm telling my story, the Willie David story. If you missed it, you got to go to her channel and hear all the
I'll tag her. Y'all get a chance to see her.
All the hell that RFD went through.
But look at her now.
Before I got to this day.
And we give all the praise to the Most High. All the praise to the Most High. Because without him, I mean, oh my God, my mind would have been gone.
All the time.
You don't know peace until you lose it.
Oh, you don't want to talk about it. And when I look over my life, Tina, I think my mind, that was what his assignment was. That was the assignment, to lose my mind. Because if you know my story and all the baby mama daddies and situations I've been through, when you can look, some of y'all been there with me. Y'all seen some of the hell that broke out in my life. Some of y'all true people.
You don't look like what you've been through.
Thank God I don't look like what I've been through.
Yes,
but my mind could have been, when I look at it, Tina, my mind.
I did snap.
My mind would have been a loss, a cause. But I am so grateful that God and Most High seen fit that my mind be restored, renewed, and replenished. And so I am grateful today to have this honor to speak with you here on your program.
Tina, truth is I'm so grateful that you came. You are just, like I said, you have a phenomenal woman. Shout out one more time your platforms for me before we end this up.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Please join me. You can find me. I'm Robin F. David. I have a page, a business page. It's Robin F. David. But join me on the RFD Talk, where I'm a radio personality and podcast podcast. You want to join me on there. Then also the Golden Foundation is a Greater Golden Foundation is our nonprofit organization. And if you know me, if you're on the Robin David page, then I expect, you're my friend and my family. Because that was really why I did the Robin David page, is for my family and friends when I moved to Tennessee. But my business pages, please visit me on there. And I'm on YouTube as Robin F. David. I have a YouTube channel, so I'm going to download this interview. But
that's good. And your book?
And my book is Healing from the Inside Out. It's a 30-day journal and journey to healing.
I have that book.
Oh,
you
great.
said, remember about that?
Yes, thank you for supporting because
always.
So the workbook came about when we lost Willie. So what I like to do is teach women how to get still, get quiet, really learn your inner voice, which is the Most High, and how He is guiding you every day to be the best person, be healed and be whole. Because we're all whole individuals. We have some brokenness in our story, but our birthright is to be whole.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining me once again on Tina's Truth. You also can find this on my YouTube page, which is Tina's Truth. Also follow me on TikTok. It's Tina53. I don't even know what Instagram is because I don't know. They don't show a sister no love, so I don't try to show them.
I love her. She is so true.
And then my Safe Haven Cleaning Company. Even if you're out of town in Tennessee and you got kin folks in Cincinnati, I travel from Dayton to Cincinnati. Safe Haven Cleaning Company. Check out my page. You will see some before and afters. We do it all from wall to wall. Also check out my Stars Tees t-shirt. This is one of them, Dayton Drip, and I have other ones, other t-shirts too as well. Listen, have a blessed day on purpose. That came from my cousin. If anybody want to know where that came from, I got that from her, and I'm telling you, I done stuck with it. But it's have a blessed day on purpose with purpose. Spud, you late. You fired. You fired as my brother.
Okay, love you guys. Thank you for listening to my healed story.